I'm Nadine Matheson, and welcome to another episode of the Conversation with Nadine Matheson podcast. Now, what would you do if you were told by your creative writing professor that you couldn't write? Yeah, you heard me correctly. The thing you want to do most in the world, someone tells you that they don't think you're up to it. That's exactly what my guest, Necole Ryse, was told by her creative writing professor. And I don't know what you would do. Would you carry on? Would you give up? I will carry on. You're not telling me that I can't do something. But in our conversation today, we discover what Necole Ryse did next. And we also talk about not only her self-publishing journey, but also her journey into traditional publishing. Because Necole Ryse, not only has she published books under her own name, she now writes under the name R.L. Killmore. And her book, A Cinnamon Falls Mystery, is out now. Now, if you're listening to me, I always say, now sit back, we'll go for a walk and enjoy the conversation. Necole Ryse, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. You have no idea.
I was telling Necole before we started officially recording that I went into a bookshop and I saw her book and I was showing my mum. And I was like, look, I'm going to be talking to her next week. Isn't that amazing?
I know.
So my first question for you, Necole, is because when I was Googling you, I said, I always feel bad. I always feel like I'm stalking. But when I was doing my research, looking at your book, looking at your backlist, you've done so much in terms of the books you've written and, them being self-published and now being traditionally published. So how would you describe your writing journey?
I would say my own. I think it's been a very wild ride. I've learned a lot about myself, about writing in general, networking, meeting so many different people. My writing journey has been very up and down. Until about 2 years ago, I was really thinking about quitting writing and
Were you really?
Yeah, I was pretty much done with it. I was like, I've written the things I wanted to write, so I think I'm pretty much done. And I was trying to, replace writing with something else. I started making journals and started doing crafting, but nothing ever felt like writing. So until I got that email, from Charlotte that was like, hey, do you want to write for us? And I was like, absolutely. And so I just started writing again. And honestly, it's been wonderful to get back into it.
Well, how does it feel? When you've been working at something for so long, and as you've self-published so many books, so it's been a long journey for you. But how does it feel when someone approaches you? They're coming to you and they're saying, "Will you write for us?" As opposed to you constantly trying to seek out representation.
I can't describe it to you. I can't describe it to you honestly because when I tell you I was done writing, I was like, how am I gonna, take down my website? How am I gonna do all these things? And I just let it sit for like a year because I didn't even want to think about it. And when I got that email, I couldn't believe it. Plus, it was in the UK, so when I got it, it was like 6 in the morning. I'm like one eye open, reading it. Like, what? She wants me to write because I'm thinking it's spam, So I'm like, okay, let me, do my due diligence. So I Google the email that goes to a LinkedIn. I'm like, hold on, this is
This
actually
is
real. Like this is a real email. It was
because
absolutely crazy.
you would think it's spam though, wouldn't you? Like, so
Yeah.
when you've been pushing away at a task for so long, and then out of the blue, someone emailed you and said, "We want to write for us," you probably think, "Oh, this is some kind of vanity press or something like that."
100% I thought it was spam. I was like, oh, this is somebody that's going to charge me money, or this is somebody, that just a scam, And I'm like, this is dumb. I'm not going to. And then I was like, wait a minute, let me Google to see if this is real. And it was real. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy.
How did you, because you've been writing for so long, and also your
Yeah.
family and your friends know what you do and what, not even like what you do, but it's like being like this passion of yours, like you
Yeah.
need to do something you
Yeah.
really need to do. So did you tell any of your family and friends that you're on the verge of stopping? Because if you're saying you were shutting down your website,
Yeah.
that's not just I'm taking a pause. That's like I'm just
Yeah.
removing myself from existence.
Let me tell you, I think my family is more excited than I am. My family acts like I'm James Patterson, and I'm not like my family is insane when it comes to this. They are like, my grandma's like, I stand up every Sunday at church, and I tell everybody like, they are more excited for me than I am. Like they're my own marketing team. I don't even have to do anything. They'll market the book for me. Like they just they're over the moon for me.
I love that though, because
Yeah.
that's what you want. Because there's so many writers, like you write in secret and you
Hmm.
don't tell, a lot of people, like they don't tell anyone. And the first a family member or a friend will know about it is when, they probably pull it on Facebook. Now I've got a deal and my book's coming out. And there's so
Right.
many people who like they want that support and they don't necessarily have that support. But to have
Hmm.
that support from the beginning, that's a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah, they're over the moon for me. They're way more excited about it than I am, that I could ever be. I think. I think they're number one fan club for sure.
What makes you hold back though, do you think, on the excitement? Because I spoke to someone, when did I speak to them? Back in July, an author called Marcia Hutchinson. And we were talking about celebrating like every
Hmm.
win you have. And she was saying how she didn't previously. She didn't celebrate all the wins.
Yeah, I think it's just I'm so like task oriented. I think I don't think I take the time to celebrate big wins. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And what's the next thing? I think I'm
Mm,
just on to the next thing. And everybody's like, this is a huge thing. Like, you need to celebrate. You've been trying to be, published for so long. And I'm just like, this is great. Like, not that I'm not excited, I am
yeah.
excited. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. But I'm also like, okay, what's next? What's after this? Where do I go after this?
Do you say the what next as in a good thing? As in like this is like you're encouraging yourself? Because it could be
Yeah,
flipped the other way, as in like what
yeah.
next?
No,
Like,
no, like, where else do we go from here? How can I
mm,
take, what tops this moment? What comes after this? What could
yeah.
possibly be better than this?
When you're talking like your grandmother standing up in church on a Sunday, I always say I'm talking about my dad's mum, my grandmother. She was a reverend in a church, and I said if she'd been, she can't. No, she wasn't. She died just before. She was around when I self-published, so she saw my self-published books. So
Mhm.
she's proud of that. But she died just before the I say the Jigsaw Man stuff happened,
Yeah,
all the Henley stuff happened. And I
yeah.
know, I always say to my dad, I always say to my mum, I know full well Granny will be standing up there in front of the church telling the congregation, you need to buy my granddaughter's book.
Before you leave out of this church today, everybody needs to buy a copy of
Yeah,
my book.
and she'd
Absolutely.
want proof. She'd want, I need to
Oh,
see proof.
yeah. Receipts, please provide them. Yes.
Did you come from a creative family, Necole? Because I always want to know, like, where did it come from?
I would think so. My dad's a really good artist. My sister is a really good artist too. So I would think I would come from a creative family for sure. But I
Mm,
don't think anybody else writes in my family. My aunt did tell me she wrote short stories when she was young. But I think I'm the only sort of writer in my family right now. Well, I
yeah,
don't know. My immediate family, I'll say, but I'm not sure about the generations previously. Maybe they were storytellers too. So,
yeah. But no one was surprised, though, when you pursued this
oh
path.
no, 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 not at all.
And do you know when you decided to go self-publish? Right? Because I always say about being self-published, being an independent author, is that it's not the easy way out at all. It's not the easy route to publication. It takes so much work.
So much. Yeah, so much. I agree.
Yeah. So what made you say, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do? And were you aware of what you had to do?
Yeah, yeah. I think I started self-publishing in like 2014.
Mm,
So this was like right at the break of Create Space, Amazon publishing. So
yeah.
wasn't a lot of information about how to self-publish. This was when blogs were still a thing. So I'm like researching, reading people's blogs, all types of stuff, trying to find, some information on how to do it. But was I prepared? I don't think so. I think I thought, I could just take this little Word document and switch it around, upload it. And I did not realize how much work it goes into putting out your own book.
Mm.
If you want to put out a good book anyway, putting editing it, finding someone to edit, and finding someone to do a cover, and also marketing it, and also talking to people and getting beta readers, and it's a lot of work. So when people say they published or self-published, I'm always like, congratulations, because I know that it was a labor of love, like that. It takes a lot to put out a book.
Yeah.
It really
And I
does.
and I think it's like what you said. It's like anyone can put out a book,
Yeah.
but putting out a good book when you're that is the difference.
Yeah.
Because I was about that same, maybe around that 2014, 2015
Hmm.
period of self-publishing. Because I know did I start writing my book in 2013? I can't remember. It's a long time ago. It's like more
Yeah.
than 10 years ago. But it was
It's like a
that period.
lifetime.
Yeah, it feels like a lifetime ago. But it was around that 2014, 2015 period where it felt like self-publishing was the thing. And it felt like everyone was doing it. Now it was kind of like acceptable for everyone to
Hmm.
be doing it. But there
Yeah.
were still these big, massive gaps in terms of information about what you need to do. So it's not just uploading a word document, and you could tell when someone had just uploaded a word document.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I discovered formatting, and I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm getting someone else to do that.
You're
I
like,
am not
hold on.
formatting a document.
You gotta make it look like a book. You're like, hold on. I just thought I could just upload. No, you have to make it look like a book yourself. You're like,
Sounds
oh,
like I'm laughing, but when you say it out loud, it sounds so ridiculous. Like, of course,
yeah,
you need to make it look like a book. But
of course.
back then, you just thought, honestly, I just thought, well, you just, you get your cover, you upload it, and Bob's your uncle, there it goes. But in reality, it's like, if you do that, you're getting a mess.
100%. And everybody can tell, like, girl, what is this?
But what made you keep going? Because I said, I self I self published my first book, and to be honest, I was happy to pursue that route. So I did the first book, I wrote my second book, but then I always say the Jigsaw Man stuff happened. So the second book, it never, I'm going to come back to it, but I didn't self publish it. I didn't finish doing my rewrites and stuff. But I would have, if that hadn't happened, I would have carried on because I've quickly recognized what I'm good at and what I'm not good at in that self publishing journey.
I
Mm.
I just had more stories to tell, I think. I just wanted to keep writing. I think I started to figure out how to make it better. Once I figured out how the basics of it, formatting, finding a good editor. Once I found an editor, I felt like I crossed a huge bridge. Like, okay,
Yeah.
now if I found someone who can really critique my writing, who can really say, this is good, change this, whatever. Then I found someone to do covers. So I'm like, I've got the team set. So now after this, I just have to write and I can do the rest.
Yeah. You
Once I
know,
had the major
so,
parts down, it was much
you know,
easier.
yeah, I was on spending far too much time on TikTok, and I got caught far too much time on TikTok when I should have been
Yeah, you
doing
get
other
into a
stuff.
hole. You get
It's
into a
such a
hole.
hole. It's
Yeah,
such a rabbit hole. But not only
it
TikTok, book talk. And I got caught up in this, and I can't even remember her name now. Is it Audra Winter? I could have got it wrong. But basically, she's an author and self published author. And she'd self published this book. And she's done well to raise money, get pre orders, all that sort of thing. And she has a team. Yeah. But then the book came out, and I think I read the sample before she withdrew it because the criticism was not, it
Oh
was not
no.
cut. Yeah, but it wasn't. But the thing is, it wasn't just being cruel for the point of being cruel. Like the criticism was justified because the book wasn't ready. It was like as if you'd written. It's like as if you just published your first draft, and like you never publish your first draft because your first draft is the no, it's your first draft's a mess. So if you're looking back at your own experience and your own path through the self-publishing journey, like what advice would you be giving to self-published authors other than don't put out your first draft?
I would say get an outside source to read it. And not like your friend or your cousin that's an English major, but like someone who does not know you, whose job it is to be an editor or or critique books, or someone who has professional resources into
Mm.
how a book like yours in that genre should be written. Um, that's what I would say. Get an outside source. Don't go to your family member or your close friend or even someone you know who's a writer. Try
Yeah.
to find someone completely independent so they don't have any ties to you. So they're like, no, this is a job that I'm getting paid to do to tell you whether or not this is good.
Yeah,
That's
I
what I would
remember.
say.
Yeah, I remember reading so many whatever threads I'd find myself on, like on social media, and people just saying, "Oh, I don't need an editor. I don't need this." And I'm like, "No, you do. Like, you really do.
You
You
do,
can't just you can't just give pull it through spell check on
yeah,
Microsoft Word and think
yeah,
that's going to be enough."
you really do because I think I didn't realize how much you say the same things. You're just thinking like you're writing, whatever. And then when somebody highlights it, like, you said whatever 14 times in this manuscript, you're like, oh my God, I had no idea,
Yeah,
And so you need someone to be like, yeah, these are the obvious things that I'm seeing.
my one is in the last book. It will I say well a lot and
Well,
just
okay,
and
just
as
for me.
oh God, it's always just and
What
as
is it
he.
with just? Yeah, what is it with just?
I don't know I don't know why. I don't know why. And it was as he or as she was a
Yes,
lot. And a lot of people were rolling out. I mean, I roll my eyes all the time. So a lot of people, I probably did it just now, but everyone's rolling their eyes. And I'm like, why is
yes,
everyone rolling their eyes and raising an eyebrow?
yes, yes. Yeah, rolling their eyes. Yes, for sure. Everybody has the same like expression.
Yeah. They do.
For sure. Crazy.
So, Nicole, when you're going through your journey, we always talk about rejection a lot because it just comes up. How do you manage it?
I don't know. Because I'm a self-published author. I'm just so
Mm,
used to it. Um, I think I queried for a long time before I just decided to self-publish, and it happens. Rejection happens. I think you can sit in your feelings for it, but if it's valuable advice, I definitely take it. Like when just to get something that's not a form rejection, someone that's like, oh, I like this, but XYZ, it's like, oh, okay, finally somebody who actually read the work and opened the
yeah.
email. But rejection comes, I think you just have to prepare yourself. Rejection comes with the job, it comes with the art, it comes with the craft. Everybody's not going to like what you put out.
Mm.
And I think it's it's something you just have to get a thicker skin for when it comes to being a creative.
What were you doing outside of this work? Because you weren't working full time, like writing full time.
No, no, I'm a librarian,
Oh,
full
are
time.
you?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
we have a
yeah.
special place in our heart for librarians.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's a really fun job.
So this is what you've always wanted to do, isn't it? Then, like, be in
I
books,
used to
be
want to be
around
okay
books.
for a long time. I wanted to have my own news show. So, but yeah, I think writing just sort of, I've always written,
Mm,
but I don't think I've decided that I wanted to actually write something until around like 2013 ish. I was unemployed. I I saw an interview with Trey Songz where he said, he gave himself a year to put out his first album. And if he put out his first album and it didn't make any money, then he would quit.
yeah.
So that's why I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the same thing. If I put out this first book and I hate it, then I'm just gonna quit. But I ended up really loving it. And so yeah,
But
that's
when
right.
but when did you know you was a storyteller? I always like to ask this now because I always say that you could know that you can write. Like your English teacher in school
Yeah,
may say, or even your history teacher may say, yeah, you can write. You're
yeah,
good at putting words together
yeah,
and making us understand it. But being able to tell a story, I think that is a different skill. Not everyone
yeah.
can do that.
I used to write little stories in my notebook in about like 5th or 6th, I'm gonna say 6th or 7th grade maybe. And I would give it to my friends to read, and they would like pass it around the class, and everybody in the class would be like, "When's the next chapter? Like, when are you writing the next chapter? Please hurry up." And so I think that's when I was like, "Oh, maybe this is kind of fun. Maybe I
Yeah.
do, yeah, like it a little bit more." So I think maybe like middle school is when I learned that I could tell a good story.
But did anyone like? I always think about teachers because school's a funny thing. They want you to pass your exams and do well and
Yeah,
move on to the next stage.
yeah.
But it's not many, especially authors I've spoken to on the podcast. It's not many authors who will say that they had teachers around them who would encourage them to say, "No, you could be a writer. You could be a fiction writer. You can tell stories, and you should pursue this as a career."
I mean, people told me that I could write. My eighth grade English teacher, she always said she loved reading my papers. Um, I took a creative writing class actually when I was in college, and my professor told me I couldn't write, which is really
He told you he
funny.
couldn't.
Not yet. I'll never forget him too. Shout out to Professor Lee. But
Oh,
he
you
was
never
like,
forget the ones who told you no.
"Oh yeah," it was, he told me it was terrible. Well, not terrible, but it was very harsh criticism, and I still think about it to this day. I always think about like, oh, I wonder what Professor Lee would think about this.
Are you ever tempted to find him and send him a copy? I won't send him a copy. Just send him the link.
I'm sure he's miserable somewhere. Shout out to Professor Lee though.
But it says a lot about you, though, that you could be, because, it's being in college, being in university, that age, when you're in your, 18, 19,
Yeah,
very early 20s, 20,
very.
yeah, 2021, you don't even know yourself. That's my
Mhm.
conclusion of it all. You think you know yourself, but looking back,
You
you
think
don't
you
really,
do.
yeah, you think you do, but you don't know yourself. And
Yeah.
you're trying to figure out where you fit in the world. And you're
Mm.
constantly, you can't help it, you're constantly looking around, you're looking at what your friends are doing, where they plan to go. And so if you have, if you have a dream, an intention of saying, this is what I want to do, then this university lecturer's turning around and saying to you, no, you're no good.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you push through that? Or how do you not let it affect you?
Well, I just, I don't know. I just think everybody's a hater. Just like, everybody's hating. Like I knew that I could tell a story. We used to do in class. We used to do these like prompts right in the beginning.
Mm.
So we would like write a prompt on the board, and then we would finish the prompt, and then we would pass it around the class or whatever, and we would stand up and read whoever's prompt. And every time my prompt got read, everybody would be like, "Oh my God, that was so good! I love this, whatever." So when he told me that, I was like, "Okay, you're hating because clearly everybody else
Yeah. But
loves
there's,
it." So
but there's so many people who they would let that one, I can't think what the word is now, but one person's opinion
yeah,
like dictate their entire life and just
yeah.
change the course of
Oh,
their
I mean,
of their
it
life.
definitely hurt my feelings. I'm not, not
Yeah,
gonna
well,
lie.
yeah, you're human. Of course it would.
It definitely hurt my feelings. It definitely made me question, like, maybe he's right. Like, maybe this isn't, good for me. Or maybe I'm not good enough or whatever. But I think that just made me go harder. That just made me like,
Mm,
okay, what am I missing? Is it sentence structure? Is it, these things? So I think having such harsh criticism in the beginning has given me a pretty stiff backbone. Like as long as the people, I get feedback from the people that matter to me,
yeah.
and everybody else is just like, you're right.
But you know what, Nicole? Like a good teacher, irrespective of whatever the subject is, if
Mhm.
if in their opinion they think that this might be a weak piece of writing, it's
Yeah,
their job to show you where they think you're, I say failing at, but
yeah,
where you could improve. That's their job as
hmm,
a teacher, not just to say, no, I think this is rubbish and walk away. They're
yeah,
supposed to show you alternative paths to get
hmm,
somewhere.
yeah. Oh yeah, the feedback was, I mean, we would turn in our little drafts, the red marks all over it. I was like, okay, all right, all right.
Oh, I find it irritating because I teach and I just think
Mhm.
I couldn't do that to any of my students. I couldn't just leave them hanging because it takes so much You know,
Yeah.
there's so much work, unless it's literally been handed to you on a silver plate. But if it
Yeah.
hasn't, it takes so much work to get to that point. And all you
Mhm.
need is a little bit. You just want encouragement. So
Yeah.
even within the criticism, you should find room for encouragement.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree for sure. For sure.
So when you got the phone call saying, well, it's not the phone call, so very 1990s when you got the phone call, when you got when you got the email in the middle of the night that you thought was spam, I would have
Yeah.
thought it was spam.
Oh, for
Was
sure.
it was it always your intention to be writing like cozy? That's what we call it, like cozy crime.
Uh,
Also,
yes.
how did they find you? I think that's the other
Well,
question. Answer that
okay.
question. How did they find you?
Okay. So I joined an organization called Crime Writers of Color.
Yeah.
And so she said she found me from one of the threads in there. I had put out a few short stories that were cozy mysteries according to the American like holidays, like Valentine's Day and Fourth of July, and
Mm.
I think one for Christmas and one for Thanksgiving. So I put out just like a four, I think it's six actually, like cozy mysteries for holidays with holiday themes. And so she said she enjoyed those, and so she was like, "Oh, let me email her and see if she'll offer, see if she'll write for us for this series." So yeah, that's how she found me, which is crazy because I enjoyed cozy mysteries, so it wasn't like I wanted to, but I started reading cozy mysteries. I started to love them. I was like, I wonder if I can put out some cozies for, the first one was just for Valentine's Day. And that was my
Yeah.
very first one, Chocolate Covered Murder. And I loved it. I mean, I was like giggling while I was writing it. And so I was like, you know what? I want to do more of these. So I just started writing more of them. And yeah, that's how she said she found me. So, but I didn't start writing cozies.
Yeah.
I really want to write like yours, like a police procedural, like a hard book, like detective story. But cozies were just so much fun. They were just so funny to me, just like a regular person stumbling upon a dead body. Like, you're just a little bakery owner. You open the door and there's like a dead person there. Like, what do you do? What do you do when you're a regular person and you find a dead body?
I mean,
So
it hasn't happened to me yet. Every time I go out on my morning walk, like literally every time I go out my morning walk, and I have to walk through the park first before I get to the river, and I'm like, this is the time. This is the time. 6:30 in the
any minute
morning.
now.
Yeah, this is where people, and I see the dog walkers. And I'm always thinking the
Yeah,
dog walkers will find the body first. It
yeah,
won't be. It'll be the dog walkers.
yeah, for
But
sure.
the thing about your story and how you were, like how you've reached this point of being moving from self-published to being traditionally published, is that, and I always think it's important for writers to know, people just starting out and looking to get an
Mhm.
agent or just to get published or thinking about self-publishing. You can be discovered in so many different ways. It's not
Yeah,
just you have to go out and find an agent. Like sometimes they will come, people will find you. Opportunity
yeah.
finds you.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be one of those people. It was honestly, like I said, I thought it was scam. So it was
Mm.
very shocking to me that I didn't have to go seek anybody out. That the opportunity would come to me, and I think that's been one of the problems in my life is that I'm really bad at waiting, and so when this came through, I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is crazy. This is crazy. I've been, you've been wanting something for so long, and then one random Wednesday, it just falls in your lap.
But you know what? I think sometimes that's how life just works out. You
Yeah,
want it, you want it. Like, but also I think it's important to, even though you want it and you don't, even though it doesn't work out for you straight away, that you don't give up, that you
hmm,
still hold on to that desire to be published, even if you're doing other things, that you still hold on to it. Because
yeah,
so many people say they just give up because they think it's going to be too late for them, and it's never too
yeah,
late, really.
yeah, no, never, never.
So now that you're traditionally published, how much different has your traditionally published experience been to your self-published journey? Does it feel easier, or is it a
Yeah,
different pressure?
yes, light years different, light years different. When they told me there was going to be a Spotify ad running, I was like, excuse me, Spotify? I couldn't. I couldn't get to Spotify if I knew Mr. Spotify when I put my book. So it's light years different. To see the response is when people tag me and stuff, I'm just like, this is crazy that it's more eyes, I'm thinking like,
Mm,
oh, my little, you know, newsletter that has like 100 people subscribed, I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm doing great for my little self-published world. But now there's like so many more people, and I'm like, I don't know how these big authors do it. I kind of want to be like, leave me alone, please.
it's a lot. I mean, I do not consider myself one of the big authors at
Oh,
all, at all, at all. But in comparison to when I think about my self-publishing journey, and I don't, it's not that I didn't take it seriously. I took it seriously. Like I
yeah,
put the work, like I wrote the book, I put the work in, I found the editor, I found the cover artist.
yeah.
What else did I do? I found the format because I said there's no way I don't have the brain capacity
You
for
were
that. I'm
like,
not format. Yeah, I am not formatting a book. I'm not even going to pretend I want to. I wasn't even interested in learning. I saw the first I did like a Google thing. I saw what you had to
yeah,
do and I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
not
Like
doing
it's not in my wheelhouse.
it.
I forgot where I was going with that.
We got on a formatting tangent. I don't remember.
Yeah, I keep going on to the formatting tangent. But the
Oh,
self-published the
yeah,
work.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So it's like I knew what had to be done and I was prepared to do the work, but then I realized I didn't have like capacity to do it, like to
Mhm.
do all the publicity
Yeah,
and do the marketing. Once I realized that marketing is more than just emailing a couple of bloggers and asking them to if they could kindly review your
yeah,
book. There's a lot
yeah.
more into it that goes into it. And I recognized that and I realized I don't have the time to do that, which is why I kind of just let it just quietly do its thing.
Yeah.
But then when you become traditionally published and you realize how much of a machine it is.
It's absolutely insane. I mean, my friend majored in PR when I put out my first book. So I'm like, hey girl, can you help me
Yeah.
put this book out? Like, so it's more than just like putting a post on social media and being like, okay, go buy my book. Like seeing the actual, like you said, machine of marketing is absolutely insane to me. And the reach they have that is just so different from me putting out my self-published book.
Mm.
And I depend so much on people. I guess it's still sharing the word and spreading the word, but it's like my little small community. But being traditionally published, it's like a worldwide thing. It's crazy to see.
When you're now on this traditionally published path,
Hmm.
did you ever at times, did it just make you look at yourself differently and and your whole writing experience differently? I suppose what I'm asking is that, did it then create more a different sort of doubt with you?
Doubt, I wouldn't say doubt. I think for me, it just gave me, I had to be, I think, at the top of my game. I think
Mm.
for me, I'm like, okay, now it's not just writing for me and my little bubble. It's way more than just my little hometown is going to read this book. Like people all across the world are going to read this book, and it's like I want to put out my best writing. Pull out all the stops.
Yeah. Because true, 'cause, when I just remembered like when I self-published and I had my own little book launch, which was basically my friends and my family at my house.
Right, right.
Yeah, and my aunties were there, and
Exactly.
like
And they're
that.
so proud of you, they're so
Yeah,
proud of you. They're so excited for you. They're happy for you. They're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
yeah,
And they support you. You're like, I feel great about this, that I put out this book and my family's here to support me. But now there's people all over the world that are like reading this book. It's not just your little tiny community.
yeah. I think you have to be of a certain mindset, and you kind of have to be prepared for that. And it's always
Yeah.
good if someone tells you that in advance, or you hear it on a podcast like this, because if you're just thrown into it, I feel
Mhm.
like it can do a lot to you emotionally a lot to deal with. Mentally, it's a lot to deal with
Yeah,
because it's a different level of expectation that's on you.
for sure. For sure. It's definitely way more expected of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the fastest I've ever written. It's been a crunch time. Like I said, I told you I was gonna quit. I haven't written anything in a year and a half, maybe 2 years at that
Oh,
point.
really?
Yeah. So it was like, okay, right, so you need to turn your jets on right now.
How do you get back into it though when you've taken a year? I mean, I took a month off
Yeah.
because I finished editing a book and I've been doing so much other stuff and health stuff. There's all this stuff going on. And I
Yeah.
just thought I cannot just go from one project and then move on to the next. Like I need a break. So I took
Yeah.
August off. And I always used to try and take August off when I was practicing. Um, when I was self-employed, it's like I always try and take August off because you need a break. But that was
Hmm.
just for me, that was just 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So how do you motivate yourself to get back into it after like a year and a half?
Well, it was something that I realized that I did want, when I said I wanted to quit, and the opportunity was presented to me. It was like, okay, this is the thing that you've been waiting on. This is what you've been praying for. So it's either you want it or you don't. It was like,
Mm.
this is what you said you wanted, so let's get back into it. Let's hop up back on that wheel. And so that's what I did. I started getting back into my old manuscripts, and I started, doing writing prompts, and luckily the story came very easy because it was a very cute story, a very sweet story. And it's about like a little small town. I spent summers in my grandmom's house in a very small town in Virginia, so it really wasn't hard for me to create that world. It
Yeah.
was sort of like visiting memories. So that getting back into it with a story that felt good was good for me.
You mentioned the crime writers of color,
Yes,
and that's how you were found.
yes,
You know, being a black author, me being a black author, and you realize I think you already know this, how important it is to have people around you who
mhm.
understand where you're coming from, can share your background and understand all the various different struggles that you might have to deal with. So like how important was it and is it to have organizations like the Crime Writer with Colors?
It's extremely important. Because I think, like you said in the beginning, writing a book, you feel like it's such a solitary thing. You're just doing it by
Mm,
yourself. But when you realize that there's a whole community of people who are doing the same things as you, they have the same struggles that you do. They look like you. They're putting out stories, with characters that you can relate to. It's a lot of people that are, cutting their hearts open and putting out novels that are representative of themselves and their culture. And you're not. It makes you feel better because you're not alone in
yeah.
the journey. You know.
I mean, that's the worst thing because this job, it is isolating. So it's just you and your whether you're writing
Keyboard.
on, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just your laptop, your computer, pad of paper. It's
Mhm.
just you. And you spend so much time in these worlds, and then you emerge out blinking into the sunlight. And you need to know that there's a community there to like keep hold of you.
Yeah, that knows what you're going through too. That
Yeah.
has been there or that is there with you. That you have people that support you, that understand what you're going through, and can support you in those moments.
Mm. I was thinking because you write cozy crime. I
Mhm.
just I just write straight. Cut your head off crime. You write the
I love it. Oh my gosh, I love it.
thank you. And you write the cozy crime. Did
Yeah,
you ever think, or did anyone ever suggest to you that maybe this is not what you should be writing at all? Because I always say sometimes there's this notion that if you're black, Asian, whatever, that you need to be writing a certain kind of story and that you
yeah,
shouldn't be approaching anything else.
yes. I get romance all the time. So when I first started writing, I think being self-published, there weren't a lot of self-published mystery writers. When I first got into it, there was a lot of self-published romance writers. So they became default, some of my really good like online internet friends.
Yeah.
They would always push my books. Every time I put a book out, they would be retweeting it to their followers. So that's where I got a lot of my initial fan base were for people that read romance initially. And so many people were like, why don't you write romance? You write mysteries, why don't you write romance? Why don't you write about, and I'm just like, I like killing people. Like, I don't want to write romance, Not that romance isn't a good genre. I mean, I think, do your thing.
Yeah.
but I enjoy a good whodunit. I enjoy figuring out how someone, that's always been the genre that has drawn me, even as a reader. I've always loved mysteries. I've always loved
Mm.
thrillers. I've always loved, figuring it out. And so I got a lot of pressure when I first started writing to write romance. They're like, oh, you would make more money if you wrote romance. And it's like, but I'm not really in it for the money. I'm in it because I write mysteries and I have a story to tell, and I think it's a damn good mystery. Can we curse on here? I'm sorry.
You know what I'm thinking of? I'm being honest. Like, I love to write. Clearly, like, I love to write, and I've always loved to write. But I'm thinking back to when I decided to self-publish, and I remember that Andy Weir, and he wrote The Martian, and The Martian went stratospheric, and I can't remember the author's name now, but Silo, the Apple TV series, is based on it. I can't remember the author's name, but the point is, there were this group of self-published authors who had made it, like, really, really, really made it. And I'm not gonna lie, like, the money was a motivating factor. It's like, you know what, I can keep all my royalties, and you never know. And I thought it would be so easy to sell like 1,000 copies
Yeah,
or 10,000 copies and make it big.
yeah,
But it's not easy.
it is not. But it looks easy. It looks easy
I
when you
think
see
that's the
other
thing. It
people.
looks easy.
Yeah,
I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with self-publishing. It looks easy,
yeah,
but it's not.
yeah. It's a lot of hard work in self-publishing.
Yeah.
A lot.
Necole, what's the worst? I haven't asked this question in a long time, but what's the
Okay.
worst piece of writing advice that you were told?
Well, I'll say the worst. I wasn't directly told this, but I'll say the worst piece of writing advice I overheard was that you don't have to read to write, and I disagree with that entirely.
Oh,
Yeah, I an author that I was watching on an interview said that she didn't read in the genre that she wrote, um, and that was shocking to me because I always thought that people who wrote were because, well, I guess not everybody starts as a reader, but
yeah.
I always thought that if you wanted to get at least better, you would read authors in your genre. So I still firmly believe that reading a good book, and not even that has to be in your genre, reading in general, I think makes you a better writer.
It
Um,
it so does. I
yeah,
mean, I've heard authors say, and I don't do this, but I've heard authors say that if they're writing a book, they won't read a book in the genre that they're writing at that time. When they're finished, they'll read.
so,
Yeah,
yeah,
because they don't want to feel like they're being influenced by whatever
right,
they're reading. So I understand that.
right,
I just read anything,
yeah,
and really, and also as well. But it sometimes if you're stuck, and I would say this is like a good bit of advice for me. Like, if you're stuck and, like, you've written yourself into a wall, you're wondering how would an author, not an author, like, how would a character behave in this scenario? What's the best way to write this action scene? I will still pick up a book. Like, okay, one of my favorite crime authors, I'll pick them up. I'll be like, okay, how did they do it? And you're
yeah,
kind of like dissecting it to see
yeah,
how they did it, reverse engineering it. And sometimes you're like, oh, it gives you an idea, and you think that's all I needed. It's kind
right,
of like someone talking to you.
hmm,
So yeah,
yeah.
you have to
No,
read. It's
I
an every book.
agree with that. You definitely have to read. And even if it's not in your genre, I think reading in general, I read when I'm not like writing, one thing to give me like a palate cleanser or whatever, I really like enjoy fantasy novels.
Yeah.
So I think world building and character development in fantasy novels can give you a lot of um, inspiration for any genre that you
Yeah.
like.
Because whatever you're writing, whatever genre you're writing in, whether you're writing romance or crime,
Yeah.
sci-fi, children book, you are always, at every point, you are always building a world. And it may feel like, it's the world you recognize because it's the everyday world that you walk in. But when you're
Mhm.
putting it in a book, you still need to build that work. And I'm always in awe of fantasy authors. I'm like, it takes a lot. That takes work to build that world.
I mean, so much. How do you do it? Do you put it on a whiteboard? Like, how do you keep?
Yeah,
I
not
don't know
me.
how they keep the characters. together. I would confuse everybody. I would mix everybody's story. I don't know how they do it. It's so many moving pieces. It's absolutely amazing. I think.
Yeah, it is. So, Necole, what piece of advice do you wish you'd been told earlier in your career?
Uh, I would say keep your eyes on your own paper. Um, I think a lot of
Mm,
times we get very caught up in what everybody else is doing, what everybody else's success looks like. You know, you see something on Instagram or whatever, it's like, oh man, you know, I wish that was me, or I wish I had XYZ. But it's like, I think I know from experience that things work out the way they're supposed to. And
yeah,
you are exactly where you're supposed to be, you know? And I think if I had known that earlier, I suffered from a lot of comparison when I first started, even in life in general. I think when we hit that like 21 to 25, 27 age, everybody's getting married, everybody's
yeah,
having a kid, and you're like, I have $3 in my bank account and I have no idea what I'm doing. And you know, it's just that comparison really can. They say it's the thief of joy, and it truly
yeah.
is.
But it's a universal thing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there's one person who's listening to this or be watching us who won't understand that whole
Hmm.
thing of comparing yourself to others. Like, you can't help it. You said, as I said earlier, you grow up with people, you grow up with your friends, you're at uni, you're at your job, and your friends are moving light years ahead,
Yeah.
whether it's in terms of career and in terms of relationships, and you're
Hmm.
just still trying to, as I said, get by with your $3 in the bank
Yeah.
account, trying to work
Yeah.
out, hmm, hmm, how
Do
am
I
I going
eat
to pay this?
today?
Yeah, do I eat today? How am I going to pay this bill today? I hate this job that I'm in, but am I
Yeah.
going to be stuck here for life? Am I ever going to do the thing I really want to do? But Debbie, I'm just calling her Debbie. Debbie next
Yeah.
door has
Yeah.
got this. She's got a
Who's
brand
pregnant with a butterfly catcher, you know, and they just bought a condo, you know, on the beach, and you
new. Yeah, you can't help it. It's human nature. But I think when you are having these moments, then it's hard to, but to try to just flip it on its head and use it to encourage you to say, okay, this is what I want.
hmm
Always say, like if I read a friend of mine's book or even an author I just know and I read their book and I love it, and I've said
hmm
to them, I'm jealous, but it's a good jealousy. Because
yeah,
good jealousy is like, oh, I wish I would have written that, and then it motivates you to write something as good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So comparing yourself, it can be harsh, but sometimes you can flip it on its head and use it as a motivator.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Especially when, like you said, when you read a really good book, you're like, man, I want to step my game up. I want it to be as
Yeah.
good as that. Yeah.
That's a good thing. So I'm going to ask you about your book, Necole, because time flies.
Okay.
Time also. So before I ask you, right, about your book, um, A Cinnamon Falls Mystery,
Yeah.
did you notice that, when your book was coming out, that all of a sudden there were these books with cinnamon in the title?
No, I did not know that. You know, a lot of people sent me so many book covers, and they would be like, "Hold on, is this lady taking your book?" I'm like, "Oh my god, my
Yeah.
friends are crazy." You know, like they are insane, and so it's it's I don't know. It's been a joy to see, honestly, just to see the appreciation, how people are like sending me messages and doing little flat lays with the book. Like nobody ever did that for me before. You know, and I'm just like, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy.
But it's true. I can't remember the title now. But there is another, like, but it's romance. It's rom-coms. It's
Yeah,
not, yeah. So it's the
yeah,
cinnamon, the gingerbread. It's every kind
yes,
of
yes,
sweet
yes, yes.
that
Yeah.
I can work out.
But
But it's
yeah, that's the
funny.
thing. Mine is more mystery, and theirs is more
Yeah.
romance. Which, yeah,
But it's funny how, you could be writing also, when you're writing a book, it's not like you wrote it 6 weeks ago. You
yeah,
may have written a book a year ago, 18 months ago. And it's funny how you write this book in isolation, but then when it's published, it suddenly it hits a moment. And it feels like
yeah,
everyone's writing the
yes,
same thing. Everyone's got
amen.
the similar aesthetic on the cover, all the
Yeah,
title, and it just fits and it just works.
yeah. And I'm fine with it. That's fine with me. You
Oh yeah, I'll
know,
be fine with that.
I'm cool with
It
that.
is nothing to complain about.
Exactly.
Okay, so Necole, would you like to tell the listeners of the conversation about your book, A Cinnamon Falls Mystery? And also, people listening, you may be thinking, oh, Necole Ryse, so lovely. And then you go look for it and it says R.L. Killmore.
Yes. Yes.
Would you like to explain the pseudonym before you talk about the book and ask you 2 questions about the book?
Yes. So R.L. Killmore is a play on the Gilmore girls, names. Instead of Gilmore, it's Killmore, because it's a mystery
Oh.
book. So, yeah, so that's where the R.L. Killmore pseudonym came from. So yeah.
Why didn't you use your name?
Well, this was already decided. So it was they had the title and the pseudonym already decided. I was just bringing the book to life. So
Oh, wow, really?
yeah,
Did you feel
yeah.
away? Were you okay with that? Because you're just happy to write the book and be out there. And also,
Both.
we know it's you.
Yeah, both. So I think and I talk a little bit about this in my newsletter, and I think I'm going to make it like repurpose it into like an actual like, TikTok video or something. But I definitely felt a way about it at first because I wanted, of course, you want it to be your name. You want
Yeah.
your name on the cover. You want to go into the store and be like, that's my book, But like I said, I had quit. I was not thinking about writing. And I was like, am I going to let this opportunity passed me by because my name isn't on the cover of this book. I don't. My picture's in the back. It's no secret that I'm the author.
Yeah.
So, and plus, I've had 10 good years of putting out books with my name on the front, and I think those are my pride and joy, really. So, I was fine with having somebody else's name on the front. I love it. This is my book,
Yeah.
and I'm excited
And
about
also, as you said, your name's on, not your name, your photograph's on the covers. It's not as if it's being published in secret, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
We can turn the book around and say, oh, look, it's Necole.
yeah. This so I'm fine with it.
Okay. So you want to tell the listeners about A Cinnamon Falls Mystery, what it's about?
Sure. So a Cinnamon Falls Mystery is about a girl named Mia who has suffered this humiliating breakup. She finds out that her boyfriend of 2 years is actually married. And so she has to go back home to her sleepy little town of Cinnamon Falls. And when she gets there, she finds out that one of her very close community members has been murdered. And she sort of has to team up with the town's detective, who also happens to be her ex-boyfriend that she left back at home. Very hallmarky, very
I was going
sweet.
to say, it's a Hallmark TV movie in the
Yes, it
making.
is. It really is. Shout out, Hallmark, if you're listening, Lifetime, hit me up. Um, but yeah, it's very hallmarky. She goes back home. Someone dies. The town's detective is her ex-boyfriend, and so she sort of has to piece her life back together, apologize to all these people that she, did wrong, and also figure out who killed the person that she loved so dearly.
Okay, so I've got 2 questions following on from that. Did you face any challenges when writing A Cinnamon Falls Mystery?
Challenges.
Mm.
Well, I would say this was sort of easy to write because like I said, it was based off of the little town that my grandma's from. We used to spend our summers there, so it was easy to write the setting. I think the most challenging thing was making it all fit together. I think
Yeah.
as mystery writers, it's sort of you got to make it make sense,
Yeah.
and so it was challenging because this is my first full length mystery. For the past writing of my writing years, I've been doing like short stories. So it was really like, okay, Raisha, you need to plot this out for real and really, figure it out.
Yeah.
So
I
I think that's the most challenging part is pushing myself to write a full length novel.
Yeah, I think I've said it before on the podcast. Like one of the things I said to myself this year was that I wasn't going to run away from short stories if I was invited to write a short story because I find them hard.
Yes.
I find, I don't know why, I find them difficult to do.
Okay.
But I was asked twice, well, more than twice actually, but I was only able to do 2. So I wrote 2 short stories for 2 different anthologies this year. And it was hard, but I forced myself to do it, and also to write in a different voice. I always write in the third person. Like
Okay.
naturally, I go to the third person. The
Okay.
first person, I'm like, this is too much time in someone's head for a whole
Yes.
novel.
Okay.
but I can manage it for a short story. So
Yeah.
I think one of the things I tell myself is to be brave. You have to be brave as a writer. You have to push yourself a bit.
Push yourself a little bit. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
scary. It is
Yeah,
scary because you
it
don't
is.
know. But when it comes out on the other side, you're like, oh, I can do hard things.
Yeah. Oh my god. I saw the when I got the final copy of the anthologies and I read this. I'm gonna read my story. I was like, oh, hear me. It's just a real story. It's a
Did I
short
hear that?
story and it works. Okay, Necole, if you could spend an afternoon with any of your characters in a Cinnamon Falls mystery, whom would you choose and why?
I have two characters that I would spend the afternoon with. One is Morgan. She is Nia's best friend, and
Mhm.
she is absolutely hilarious. So I would definitely spend time with her. She wears purple every single day. She's just a very eccentric, outgoing. I think I would have a good time with Morgan. And the second character is Midnight, who's actually the cat. And I think I would spend time with Midnight.
Oh, that's cute. Okay, so Necole, your final questions. Are you an introvert or extrovert or a hybrid of the two?
I think I'm an introvert who is forced to be an extrovert. Because I'm a librarian, I have to spend a lot of time front facing, um,
Yeah.
being on the reference desk, doing story time with kids. And so I think I'm forced to be. I think I just disassociate really until it's over. And then I can just go back into my shell.
You know what's really it just like it only just occurred to me. You would think that, if you worked in a bookshop, like I said, like I had a part-time job working in the bookshop when I was at
Mhm.
uni. And if you're a librarian, you would think these are perfect jobs for people who are introverts. But really, you're not. You
No,
are dealing with the public continuously. It's not just sitting in a quiet space.
yeah, every single day you are forced to speak to someone, to talk to someone. Like it's your job. It's your actual job to help people,
I
and
had a
it forces me out of my comfort zone every single day.
Yeah, I had a boss when I was training to be a solicitor, so training to be a lawyer, and he
Uh-huh.
said to me, I can't remember what happened. I think we just seen a client, and he said to me, "I don't like dealing with people," and I
Yeah,
was like, "You're a lawyer. Like your whole job is dealing with people. Even if you were doing wills and probate, which is basically
yeah,
dealing with dead people, you're still
yeah.
dealing with people. You're still dealing with families." I found it very weird.
People are draining though. People are
Yeah,
draining.
that is true. People can be draining. Okay, so Necole, what challenge or experience, good or bad, in your life shaped you the most?
I think getting a job at a library first is definitely one of the biggest experiences I think that has changed my life.
Mm,
Being front facing with the public and seeing just how quickly people can slip through the cracks. Um, and also, it has changed my life to see how many people like don't know things, that don't have access to information, that don't have the resources. People who can't like literally can don't know how to use a computer, and it's you think, oh, it's 2025, why? But a lot of
yeah,
people really don't know how to use a computer. They don't know how the digital divide is a real, real thing. And I think that really has changed my perspective on life, on, how easily you could fall through the cracks.
yeah. Because it's
But at the same time, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go on, go on.
Um, I think this has given me the most creative times in my life too, because the public library does not have a lot of money. We don't have a big budget, but we still have to put on community programs. We still have to do things, for children and just being creative and using your own resources and networking. It really has changed my perspective on a lot. I think becoming a librarian and working in a library has really changed my life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When you're talking about like the digital divide, and I was just thinking that you need money. I mean, it's the long and the short of it. You need money to be on the internet. You need money to be able to use your phone. And there's going to be so many people who, like, I just upgraded my broadband the other day because I had to,
Yeah,
because I'm doing so much and this is what I do. But
yeah.
not many people can afford to
Mhm.
have broadband in their house, in their home. Not many people can afford to have a smartphone. And
Mhm.
then, and if you're missing, I say if you're missing in school, maybe you have poor attendance or you're misunderstood by the teachers, or they're not really acknowledging your needs, you can fall through the gaps, and there's gaps in your learning and your understanding.
Yeah, and that takes you all the way to adulthood. Like those
Yeah.
childhood years are extremely, extremely important. And if you don't fill in those gaps then, you know, it's hard to catch up when you're an adult.
That's why libraries are so important no matter where you are in the
Yeah.
world. And they do more than just loan books.
Yes.
They provide um, forums for people to know, adults to learn how to read
Yes.
and things like that, helping them out with applying for benefits or doing their job applications, or just giving them a space to do their homework.
Yes.
Like, they do so much.
Yes. Yes. Support your local library.
Yeah, to always support your local library. Does it frustrate you though, being in the States? And well, it must do, and seeing
Yes.
what's happening with everything in terms of
Absolutely.
books and
It's extremely frustrating.
funding and all of
Yeah.
that.
Hmm. It's extremely frustrating. It's a hard time to be a public servant right now.
Yeah,
But you know, you got to keep going.
you have to
Yeah.
keep going and fight the good fight. That's me
That's
going
it.
into a different conversation, but So, Necole, if you could go back to when you were 25 years old and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
25. We were 25. I'm trying to think, what was I even
Norm-
doing at 25?
Normally, when you remember what you were doing at 25, you're like, I don't want to be talking about that.
I don't want to talk to that version of myself. No. Uh, I would tell her to, like I said, keep your eyes on your own paper. I think when I was 25, I really was confused about life. I didn't really know what I wanted. I think when I was 25, I just gotten a job as a librarian, I think, or a library associate. I just started working at the library, and I had that was coming off of being unemployed for about 2 years. So I think I was just happy to have a job at that point. But I would also tell myself, to keep going. I think to keep putting one foot in front of the other. It's
Yeah.
hard when you're in the situation to think of some obscure future that you can't picture right now.
Yeah.
Right now I have $14 and 2 weeks until payday. But I think I would tell myself to keep my eyes on my own paper, to still believe in the dream, and to keep my faith up for sure.
Okay. And what is your non-writing tip for writers? I always say it could be drink water, touch grass.
That's great. Yeah, I would say definitely go outside. Definitely go outside. Um, definitely go outside to get some inspiration. If you want to take a break, go outside. No phone, no headphones, no nothing. Just look at the birds. Look at the grass. Just try to get in touch with reality. But also, I would say watch TV. A lot of times, I think I've gotten a lot of inspiration from watching a good comfort show, or watching something that I enjoy. So I would say maybe watch some TV and also go outside though too. I think
I
that screen break, whether it's your laptop screen, your TV screen, the phone screen, just being in real life will help a lot.
Yeah, I'm going to endorse what you say about watching TV for inspiration 100%, because with my new book that's coming out in February, and
Is this a new Inspector Henley book?
yeah, the new Henry. But with the new one, I always say, like, I had this note in my notebook saying, like, about my villain. I always think my villain has to be a Darth Vader, in the sense that you need to fear them. Like, there needs to be, you should fear them. And I couldn't think like what would make them fearful, and I couldn't come up with what the action was. What was like the really scary bit of the crime, until I was watching Lawman Bass Reeves on which is it was a show, and I was watching it, and then all of a sudden there's a scene in it that happened. I was like, oh my god, that's it. And it was one moment, just one moment, and
That's
I
all
thought,
it takes.
yes, what it took. So yeah, TV's a good one. So
Yeah.
finally, Necole, the Necole who did not delete her website.
You're right.
Where can listeners of the conversation find you online?
I'm Necole Ryse everywhere. NecoleRyse. I'm Necole Ryse everywhere. NecoleRyse.com. Necole Ryse on Facebook. Necole Ryse on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. That's where you can find me. Now, TikTok, let me tell you, I'm still getting the hang of it. You know, I'm a millennial, so I don't. That is it's too complicated. I'm used to pressing like two buttons. You know, Facebook is like, what do you want to talk about? Post. You know, TikTok, it's like,
Yeah.
use a filter, use a sound, edit this down. Like, girl, I don't know what any of this means. I don't know what it means. I just want to upload something and press post. That's it.
That's all you want to
So
do?
yeah,
Well,
I'm getting the hang of it.
I was Gen X for a very long time, and then they was like, no, you're a Zennial. So I'm like, whatever. But I feel the same way. I'm like, there's too much going on TikTok. I just want to put a picture up on Instagram and press post, and I'm good. I write a caption and I'm good to go.
Why does it have to be so complicated?
I
So
don't
many
know.
steps. It's so many steps.
Too many steps. Well,
Yeah.
Necole, this just leaves me to say, firstly,
Yeah.
I'm very glad you didn't delete your website and you didn't give up.
Thank you. Me too.
And to say, Necole Ryse, thank you so much for being part of the conversation.
Thank you for having me. I'm just like I told you before, I'm like a super fan girl. So when I get off of here, I'm probably gonna go scream in a corner. So thank you for having me. No, like seriously, thank you.
You're welcome. You're so